Hey, what's up, athletes? This is Coach Last with Mental Grit Consulting, and today we're talking about one of the most intriguing skills within mental skills training, and that is imagery. Now, I'm going to say it right now that imagery is one of those skills that takes a long time to develop a full control and a full capacity within. However, having said that, there are little things that you can do to utilize imagery and or you might have heard it as visualization in the past to help you really accomplish your race day performance, the one that you want to accomplish. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it today and move forward from there. All right, so with regards to what imagery is, I'm actually going to let the workbook do a lot of the talking here because it would take forever to develop a really keen awareness and understanding of the skill itself. So go ahead and read through the workbook a little bit just to develop a firmer understanding and grasp over what it is and what it can be used for. For this specific task today, we're going to be developing a imagery script. A script of things that are happening, of actions and events that happen throughout your entire transition for T1 and for T2. This will help us develop what's going to happen throughout that transition, develop a little bit more confidence in the way we're going to go about our transition. Just make sure that we're checking off the steps as we move forward and doing them in a way that are effective for us. And we're all going to be doing it in our heads. We're going to do it in writing first because we have complete control over our writing. We're going to develop the script. Once we have the script developed, then you can read that and record it and then allow yourself to listen to your imagery script, listen to that flow of actions that lead to a really successful transition for you. Now understand that imagery can be utilized in any space within sports, within athletics, and it's really a primal skill that you need in order to really perform at your peak potential, that you need to utilize over time, and the more that you start integrating it into your plans, the better. However, I will caution you with one thing specifically. If you can't control the image in your mind to do it appropriately or correctly, then don't image the event. Meaning that if you've had a bad crash in the past and you play it in your mind over and over again and you end up actually crashing every time, stop imagining that event. And if you catch yourself doing it, we'll put your attention on something else because you're not helping yourself. There is a power within imagery to create pathways between your mind and your muscles, so which actually create these habitual movements that we've been able to create or develop over time. If we start replaying the bad things in our mind, we're going to start actually seeing bad things happen on the court, in the triathlon, in swimming, whatever it might be. So if you're going to develop an image in your mind, if you're going to play it in your head, do it right. And I'm going to give you 3 specific rules to follow here. The first rule is use all 6 senses. Now, you hear 6 senses. I thought there were 5. Well, there are 5. There's what you smell, there's what you taste, there's what you hear, there's what you see, and there's what you feel. But there's also what you feel internally. There's also the little strains and stresses that you feel throughout a movement. There's also the way you feel in terms of confidence or anxiety or the energies that are inside your body. So I'm going to allow you to kind of really bring that to fruition within this specific exercise here. Now, there are 2 ways that we can image ourselves or imagine ourselves, through our minds. We can image ourselves in an external environment to where we have the camera outside of ourselves looking at us. Some people image themselves this way, which is fantastic, but I want you to go ahead and start looking specifically at your transitions. And I want you to take a look at the external view here. Take yourself back to the last couple of events or last couple of transitions that you've been able to do, any kind of training that you've been able to do. And I want you to focus on, the perfect sequence. What does your body language look like? Where is your body in relation to your transition space? How is your attitude? Little things like that. But start writing down any aspect of your image that, or of your transition that you feel like you want to pay particular attention to, within the imagery script that you're going to develop. What's the most important stuff? Is your body, need to be in a specific position, or does your attitude need to be a specific way? Does your body language need to be something specific as well? But run through a transition in your mind, and I want you to take a quick note of what are the most important aspects, and then write them down here. Once you've done that, we're going to turn to our internal imagery. So we have our external, the bird's eye view of what we're doing. Being able to see that with a camcorder is very effective. So if you need to, go ahead and do this in a camcorder. If you can't do it in your mind, that's just fine. Utilize a camera and record yourself going through a transition. That way you can see, what that looks like from an external point of view, and point out what the most important pieces are from that external point of view. And then we go internally. When we go internally, we start getting into the senses. Now, why is it important to develop an image utilizing your senses? Well, not only does it help you, really come into that present moment focus that we've been talking about so much throughout the training, but it also helps you develop the most vivid image you possibly can. When you're developing a vivid image, it's almost as if your body and your mind don't know the difference between you actually doing an event and you're imagining an event. That's the best part about this, is that we can rehearse. We can do mental rehearsal and utilize this script to help us move through that transition and do it 100 times in our mind rather than doing it, in real life. That way we can really, take our time, take our sequence of events and get them right throughout the entirety. And the more you practice it, as you know, the better you're going to get. So let's talk about these things. I want you to write down, first of all, what you see. What are the things that you see throughout the transition? I just want you to take note from an internal perspective, as if you were looking through your own eyes. You're getting out of the water. As soon as you get out of the water from your swim, what are the things that you see from there on out? And I want you to point out the most important pieces. Now, these are little things that might be a specific tree or a location where your bike is in relation to the transition space. It could be specific turns or specific things that you see, like your watch or your goggles in your hand, or being able to take off your wetsuit in a certain way, and making sure that the pieces the pieces are in place. Now, if you want to go through this with your coach, it might be more beneficial if you don't have a ton of experience within triathlon, within transitions, but he or she can help you develop this routine as well. So the next thing that I want you to write down are, what are the things that you outwardly feel. I want you to write down things that are possibly the wind, or the coolness of the water that's on your skin, or the wetness in your hair, or really develop a good look at what are the things that you feel outwardly during this transition period. What are the things that you hear? What are the things that you feel internally? What are the things that you really want the most of? What are the things that you smell, and what are the things that you taste? Now, this is a quick just exercise in really pointing out the most important pieces for you, but also to point out the detail, because the detail matters when it comes to developing an image. And really, when we're developing our script here in just a moment, you're going to be able to find and utilize all this detail within the script, and the more that you do, the more you're going to be able to see the event as if it was actually happening, which is the whole point, right? So transitions can take anywhere between 1 minute and sometimes under a minute, all the way up to 3 to 4 minutes, depending on who you are. Now, keep that in mind as you move through the script, but that's really the next part of this whole performance piece here, or developing your imagery script, is take a good time and really walk yourself through the entirety of the event, from you getting out of the water to you getting on your bike. In detail, and with as much detail and with as much vivid detail as you possibly can. And the more that you're able to put that detail in there, the better the image is going to look. And now make sure that you follow the 3 rules. The first rule we talked about was utilizing all 6 senses. The second rule I really want you to pay attention to is making sure that you're doing every piece of that image, or every piece of that flow of actions, exactly the way that you would want to do it. Making sure that that the wetsuit is coming off exactly the way that you wanted to. Making sure that you're able to get that wetsuit off, getting into your transition, and going straight to your transition space. Making sure that you put the things in the exact place that you want to put them. Putting your helmet on correctly, being able to put your glasses on correctly if you wear glasses. But you have to go through the whole sequence and make sure that it's exactly the way you want to. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean it's going to be imaginary or fantasy. Keep yourself grounded in reality. Now, there are little things that might trip you up during a transition, and that's okay. If there are things that might trip you up, put those in there, but also put how you're going to respond to those events. Now that's a little bit more detailed, and I don't want to get too complicated within this script, but again, what we're trying to develop is a full, script of a sequence of detailed events or actions from getting out of the water to getting on your bike and everything that happens in between, exactly the way that you want to do it. So you can then read this script and be able to see it as if it was happening right in front of you, or that you were actually doing it. And I want you to put the words in I's and my's, and making sure that it's from that first person point of view. I'm giving you 2 pages to do this. The first time that I ever developed the imagery script, I ended up developing a 5-second sequence in lacrosse specifically, and it ended up being 2 to 3 pages, which is crazy because there's a lot of detail there. But I do also want you to make sure that you go through an entirety of a T1 and a T2 of your transition from getting out of the water to your bike, as well as in T2, which is your second script here, from bike to run, making sure that you're developing that in sequence again, and I want you to do it in detail. Now this is going to take some time, I know, but if you follow the 3 rules, it actually becomes a little bit of fun because you're able to read the script, see exactly what it is that you're going to be doing, and then you're going to be able to repeat that. Okay. That's everything for today. I'm not going to get you too involved and too detailed as we go, because again, this is just barely scratching the surface, and honestly this is a lot more involved and can be very, very complicated in the future. But let's keep it very simple. Utilize and develop a script for your transitions only for right now, and then you can start understanding a little bit more of what it's like to develop that script. Make sure you follow the 3 rules, and let me know if you have any questions whatsoever in the comments section. Go ahead and write down any experiences you have after developing this imagery script. And always remember that these scripts can be dynamic. They can be developed specifically for the race space that you're going to be, racing within. So if you do have a picture of the transition area, include that in your script. Include all of the different elements of that specific area that you're going to be actually racing in inside of your script. That way you'll be prepared when you get there. And sometimes, it really is integrating little details here and there. But for right now, develop the script. Don't get too complicated with it. Just make sure it's detailed, that it follows rule number 2, that it's exactly the way you want it to be. And lastly, rule number 3, that it ends exactly the way that you want it to end. If you want to complete and have an outcome of 1 minute and 34 seconds within T1 or T2, then write that down. And when you finish that image up, make sure you write down exactly the number that you want to leave with. Again, grounding yourself in reality. Doing exactly the way, but stretching yourself, pushing yourself a little bit, and really accomplishing exactly the way that you want to accomplish that specific event. Have a great day. Have a great week. This next week, start getting detailed with developing this imagery script. Let me know if you have any questions within the comment section. And get to work, guys. This is a lot of work, but it'll pay off in the end. I promise you that. Enjoy your week. Get grit, everybody. We'll see you.